Said.
Anyway, I represent QBook and myself. QBook Internet is an editing and proofreading service. Sorry, I can't get that light on. Can everybody hear me okay still? I don't see Rob on the video now, but that doesn't mean, I guess, that you guys, okay, you all are here. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about resume writing and CV writing. And let me just talk about the differences. Resume basically is used in the USA, and CVs are generally used in Europe. But I'm going to talk about the things that unite these documents for employers. And my question here, the two questions to consider when you're preparing your resume or CV. And the first one is the question that the applicant will be asking. And the second is the question that the recruiter will be asking. So think about what makes a good resume. And the recruiter will be asking what skills this company is looking for this position. Okay, so those are the two questions to consider coming from both sides. You have to think about what they are thinking about and how you can best present this document so that you can get this information across to your employer. So can you go on to the next one? Okay, what does an effective resume or CV look like? Okay, these are the points that I found that are important for any resume or CV. It is organized, and it doesn't overwhelm your eyes. So it doesn't have tiny fonts or too big of a font or too many colors. All that is very creative maybe, or gives all the information that you want to put on there. But if it's overwhelming, then it can only distract the recruiter. It gives all the information that you need to tell. So this means that you have to kind of weed out what is most important. It uses action words, and it tells of your skills, not necessarily your responsibilities, but what you're good at and what especially that you have accomplished in your past jobs. And that was the last one, what it does to tell the recruiter what you did for them. And that can be like two different things. It could be, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you have accomplished as far as making money for the company, but also in developing relationships among people in the company. Because all of this, if you have good relationships with each other, then it helps the company in some way. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this goes through basically what does it not look like. So these are just the opposite. It's disorganized and sloppy, has too much color, too many fonts, and the fonts are very pleasing to the eye. So you don't want something too fancy, or it can confuse somebody, or it can distract from the purpose of your resume or CV, which is to highlight your skills. It does not give information that you don't want to tell or is not necessary. These things are really important for you to find out what you really want to say in your resume that's going to help the employer, and that requires sometimes getting getting more information about the employer to find out what you believe they are really looking for. It uses passive voice or skills that are not mentioned. And it doesn't say anything about you did that helped the last company you worked for. Okay, and the next one? Okay, so this next one kind of summarizes the main things that you'll see on a resume. A CV basically is longer. It can be 2-3 pages, but all of these are most important for either CV or resume, that you have all these things. And generally speaking, both for resumes and CVs, the rule of thumb is to try and keep it as short as possible, because they are going to be going through a lot of different resumes probably, and you want to be sure that everything is very concise, highlighted, clear, so that they can just look very quickly at the resume. They will set it aside if they like it, or set it on the other side if they don't like it. And if they have hundreds to do, then they're going through it very fast. And they're just trying very quickly to find out, scanning through it or skimming through it, what is most important. So it's important that it be concise like that. Okay, next one. Okay, so here we'll see, okay, there are guidelines of what a resume looks like, and there are like questions about whether you should add a lot of creativity to it or not, and this is probably and is a question of debate about how much creativity you should put into it. But I showed you here what it definitely does not look like. It's not written out. It doesn't have any information on it, or the one on the right where there's a lot said in there. But does the recruiter really want to go through and try and figure out what's important, what's not important through that one? Okay, so. Okay, can go to the next one. This is a questionable or unacceptable resume. If you're going to apply for a design firm, then some design firms would say, yeah, that's really cool. We might accept that kind of resume. But on the other hand, if you're applying for an accounting position, do you want to put this kind of resume in, where, on the left, you have to turn your head and try to figure out how it's organized, or on the right, an accounting position, so how creative are they going to be for this accounting position? Do we really want that kind of person who's going to cook the books? So, okay, next one. Okay, so here's an example of what a good resume might look like. So this is a good resume. I would say it has a little bit of design, but what's most important is the name is not too big, it's not too small. It's the most important thing on the resume, and it's got the everything highlighted, the main points there. Organized. It's got fonts and underlines that are consistent for each point. Okay, and I've got just a few more slides here. So here are some common mistakes or setbacks with resume writing. You don't want your objective to be too cliché. In other words, I want a construction job, or I want to advance in the firm. You want something that is specific to what you think the employer is looking for. Again, not giving too much or not enough information. Of course, typing and grammar mistakes. Make sure when I edit, I give it at least 3 times that I go through it, sometimes more, depending on how bad it was in the first place, or how many times I need, have been changing my thoughts on it. Focusing on responsibilities rather than results. So results are very important for a resume. That's what the employers are looking for, what you're going to do for the company, not just what you're responsible for. Okay, it's too boring and too dramatic. Am I running out of time?
Yep, you're right.
Oh, okay. So you can
just wrap up. Let me go to the last slide for you.
See the summary of this later if you want to look at the slide presentation. I'll put it on SlideShare. And this is, I have a resume checklist. You can't see it here. It's not fully loading here, but I do have a resume checklist available upon request, which is basically not everything that you need to put on a resume, but that you can go through and see, oh, could I add this, could I add that?